I was just spinning out with excitement by the time I got to these pictures. It just became so clear to me that my Patreon is going to be, for me, like a tea house. The idea that I'm holding the container is of a very special tea house. And so I will share with you as the time goes on what that means for me. And I'll just be really interested to hear if that resonates with people. Because it's like catch-22. It's like, do I find out what people want, or do I say what I want to offer? And I thought, well, it's a big mixture, but you have to know where I'm coming from to see if it's your thing. So this is where I'm in the process of doing, is letting you know where I'm coming from. And this spread here could not have made me happier on the day when I made it.
Last night I was awake. Before I went to bed, I made some notes and stuff all about things that have been coming up for the idea around the tea house. And one of the things that I wrote was remembering some notes that I sent to Shiloh Sophia McLeod back in 2013 or 14. I did her Colour of Woman program. I believe that was 2013. And so I was sending her a note about being an art doctor on the site for the following year, the students to be of assistance. And these notes I just thought were so funny, but so me, that they have remained with me for so long, and the idea before I wrote it out had been with me. So I wanted to share them and to just give you a sense of where I'm coming from sometimes, with just how much I can relate life to tea. So, but I'll read it from the screen here, and you take from it tell me what you think. I just had to share it. So I've written a few notes that may be helpful. That's I'm reading aloud. I've written a few notes that may be helpful, or start raving bonkers. You be the judge of that. You know I have a fondness for all things tea. So I thought I could apply 3 different varieties, flavors, intensities of feedback. Anyone can request 1, 2, or all 3, even in measures if they're that way inclined. You know, this idea that I'm a Virgo, and I'm very sensitive to detail, and I can come across probably as critical, but it's just because I notice details, I notice things, and so that's what I have to work with in my life, that sort of inner critical nature. That attention to detail is very present, it's prevalent. And so I have to learn how to temper it. And so this is what I wrote about the tea thing. So, and the 3 different varieties or intensities of feedback. So firstly, I've put for strong feedback. So a strong Australian breakfast tea, packed with caffeine. It packs a punch, and you'll know when you've had a cup. Choose this if you want the very critical nitty-gritty points considered, and technical things, big changes, dramatic stuff. If it were me, I'd feel into how much I wanted to receive. Sometimes I'm open for a big, the works, good, bad, and the ugly. But other, more sensitive times, this could just break my heart and feed the critic. Next is medium, which is chai spice tea, which is like my favorite. I drink that every day as my special 10 o'clock ritual. And so I figured that this would be medium kind of feedback. My favorite, the warm, inclusive, nurturing, nourishing, may include any of the quirky, exotic, unusual tangents I can think of. Plenty of color, pattern, and contrast. If you want ideas or glimpses into foreign lands and concepts, design elements, aromatic flavor, and richness. With honey on the side. Gosh, I've made that sound way awesome. Am I giving myself too much to live up to? Why, yes, overthinking Virgo, you might be. And then for soft, gentle feedback, I've got chamomile, lavender, mint, tisane. is the absolute nurturing, encouraging, carry you along back to peacefulness and gentle kindness towards yourself and your painting, a soft touch. And kind, the kind I'd have liked as a beginner or new painter to ease me along many years ago, but it wasn't on the menu back then. And so then I've just written to complete. Sometimes we just need or require a loving little nudge. Other times a plate or a table of choices, so we can choose things to our taste and whim. And then other times still, we might be up for a whole new wardrobe or a new house or new city, a new way of looking at our world and showing up in a whole new way and more of who we are. I just think that kind of sums up the energy that I want to bring to my Patreon. It really does. I've just, ever since I started, I made a welcome page, and I'm going to share about that in another spot. So I just wanted to read that out for you.
I bought an extra table from Bunnings so that I could make this nice little table spot in front of the glass windows that brings in lots of light. I thought it might be a helpful place to make some videos through winter. And so what I've done here is I've gathered up my very large, wide sketchbook that I use mostly for sticking pictures in, for making kind of like big inspirational, sort of like vision boards on pages really. And so that's what I gathered here, was a couple of magazines, and proceeded to just gently take myself through that with a cup of tea, with the idea of inspiration for my Patreon. And so I'll let this stop here and pop in the end result, because you might not want to watch the whole slow thing. But it occurs to me that I could add it at the end if you want a lovely, slow arting company for your making art. So I might be able to do that at the end. I'll see if might not be a good idea. If someone sees it's an hour-long video, they might not want to touch it. So anyway, yeah, I'll go ahead and put in now the end result. So here's looking down at the pages that I've made. I just went through only a couple of magazines that I had that I knew I loved very much. And I just took out the pages that spoke to me when I was gathering inspiration for my Patreon. That was my kind of question. Does this inspire me for my Patreon? So, you know, there's just beauty and opulence. This reminds me of Bridgerton, this moment here. And I was thinking to myself, what is it I love about Bridgerton? And, you know, it's the beauty, the flowers, the joy. There's a whole list of things that I actually wrote down in my journal this morning. There's just so much. And I was sort of wondering, why are we so drawn to it? We watched it twice this week, you know, these last 3 or 4 sessions. And the relationships, the connections of people, the fashion, it's uplifting. It's uplifting, a lot of it. So there was that. And this was a lovely still life painting. And I thought, oh, how gorgeous is that? I love that color palette. It's kind of similar to my current color palette that I'm loving. And then there's this magazine here has this this cover, and it strikes me. And actually what I really feel called to do is create a series of small paintings for myself, for a wall, you know. So I thought, wow, wouldn't that be a fun project to do together on Patreon? Would be to, share the process of us making small pieces. And, you could choose all different themes, and how you choose a theme for your wall or your palette or your sizes or things like that. I thought, what an amazing kind of group project that could be if people were interested to join me in that idea. I was so smitten with it that I just sort of stuck it in everywhere, and I've cut it out all the times I could find it in the magazine. And I thought, I'm so enamored with this idea, and it's been revisiting with me several times. So I thought I might even just stick these in different places in my bullet journal, and places where I'll just be reminded, because I want to remember the joyful projects that come to mind. I want to infuse them with more energy, so that's a way I can remind myself. And so there's those things, and then that leads to these this wall of these little plates, similar type of idea, just this collection of small things. I'm just very taken with that. It was so funny. There was in the magazine reasons why you would subscribe, and I thought, well, some of these could refer to my Patreon. Even makes a perfect Mother's Day gift. I thought, I would love my Patreon to be a perfect Mother's Day gift. So, those things, they just all resonated with me. And then the next page, more of the similar thing. I'm seeing, this is the thing, when you are really keen on something, you'll notice it everywhere. So then again, there's the collection of small paintings. I love these two ladies sitting here looking lovely, cup of tea or coffee. And again, some more small paintings that are very inspirational, and a little Matisse, and the still life is really present and something I'm really interested in at the moment. This pair here, there's a nod to the elephant that I'm a bit enamored with at the moment, is the idea of the elephant in the room. So there's little elephants on here, which I thought were really cool. And this is just such a lovely spread. And so I just cut the whole thing out, took the whole thing. Nice chairs. I think I have to move this across to show you the other side. So there's that half with a lovely big chandelier. So I've always been interested in this very interesting wallpaper. I haven't quite got to that level of detail in my paintings, but I'm very attracted to that sometimes. But you might just do it on a vase or something a bit smaller. So I don't know if this one can show up. Just another piece of that same spread with these gorgeous full bunches of flowers, that just make me happy. And then I think I was just spinning out with excitement by the time I got to these pictures. It just became so clear to me that my Patreon is going to be, for me, like a tea house. The idea that I'm holding the container is of a very special tea house. And so I will share with you as the time goes on what that means for me, and I'll just be really interested to hear if that resonates with people, because it's like catch-22. It's like, do I find out what people want, or do I say what I want to offer? And I thought, well, it's a big mixture, but you have to know where I'm coming from to see if it's your thing. So this is where I'm in the process of doing, is letting you know where I'm coming from. And this spread here could not have made me happier on the day when I made it. I got high making this, high with just joy. The joy of this made me so happy. Here again, the collection of the small paintings together and little things. There's something about that. I thought I could work with that theme for a year or more. I'm just loving it, and I wonder, does it speak to you too? That idea of gathering a collection of pieces that you love, and how much more wonderful could it be if it's pieces that you made, or maybe there's there's swaps, there's connections made in the group. I don't know. I just feel like there's so much room for possibilities with that, just that picture. It inspires so much in me, in my heart and soul. This, even, you know, the handmade clay work, ceramics, I just love all of it. Marimekko, I just love Marimekko. And so I thought, look at that beautiful potential for a still life picture, that that gorgeous tablecloth with the different napkins, and then those chairs again. So that was there. And then there were these recipes, and actually afternoon tea, do's and don'ts. I thought, stop it, are you kidding? I was just getting so excited by this. And so what I did was what do you call it? This wabi, this washi tape is not very good. It's not holding on tight anymore. I think it might be a bit old or something, or maybe inferior sticky. But there were these lovely little recipes, the mini sponges, and over here the meringue tarts. So I'd have to find a gluten-free way of making those. But I just thought, oh my God, I'm just going to tuck the recipes in there. That just made me really happy. And then over here I've got the look at even just that. That's so fun when you do that for your friends to come over, you know, and the cake and the green stand. It's like, oh, this is like a piece of heaven to me, this simplicity and the gorgeousness of this. And I'm going to share something here at the risk of, I don't know what risk, no risk, just sharing something a little funny. It's something that reminds me of Sark, when she would say, invite someone dangerous to tea. Now, I don't think it's someone dangerous, but this idea flowed out onto my page. And because I'm here in Sydney, I'm right out at Parramatta, and I thought I would love to set this up. I would love to set up a morning or afternoon tea for 3 guests, because I have a table that would really only seat 4. So I would sit there, 3 artists come to tea. I thought, wouldn't that just be gorgeous? So I thought, oh, well, all right, I'll put that out there, you know, like out into the universe as it's going now, as I share it with you. At the Affordable Art Fair in Sydney, I met lots of lovely artists. So there's a possibility 1, 2 or 3 might come from there. I'm not sure. But I just want to show you, like, this is the kind of thing you can do in your, for me, this is a big journal. I got this at IKEA a few years ago. But this is like where I come when I want expansive room to dream into. And I thought, and I'm just going to tuck that in, that special idea. I was so excited and happy about it. And I'm just going to tuck it in there into a page that brought me such joy. I thought, there's energy in that, and I don't know when it will come to pass and what I'll need to do to create it, but that's like, this is like an intention and holding space for a possibility. So I just love that. Now, is that all of the spreads that I've got for you? Yeah, at the moment, that's it. So that gives you the idea of what's on my pages after that gathering collage.
As I putting this video together, I'm realizing I need to explain a little more what I mean about the tea house, that feeling. And I think that's what I'm exactly getting at, is I would love for my Patreon account area to be a place where you can take yourself to have a little break, to have a little something pop in that you might not in everyday life come across, or something like that. I mean, in the way that there's a tea house that I love to go to on the Sunshine Coast called the Silver Spoon. And it doesn't matter what's happening in my life, going into that place of beauty that they've created, it always uplifts me. And so I thought, it would be really lovely to create a space where there's a place of comfort in the world, and I know you will all have those of your own, and it's a really good idea to make them of our own. But I wondered if, as a co-created space, meaning I tune into the guests that are coming onto my Patreon and sort of what the kind of things that you like and would enjoy, and that becomes like a sort of say a reciprocal arrangement. It sort of does in a way, and I don't even know if this is possible because I haven't done Patreon before, and I've been getting snippets of information that the actual connection and chatting in there is not very much at all. So then this whole idea might fall on its face, or I might be able to find creative ways of doing it.
I'm awake at 4 a.m. and sometimes I put my phone and my iPad with the fireplace and a little bit of music. And because it's winter, I've got the heater on, I've got a warm robe on. But I wonder if in my Patreon I made video for when you get up at 4 a.m. and you'd like a little bit of company. I wonder if that's a thing that it's not happening for me tonight, but sometimes I'm all kind of concerned or worried, and that's what's keeping me awake. And so on those times, I reckon it would be kind of nice to have company and maybe do a little bit of journal writing together. Anyway, that's an idea that's popping in as I'm sitting here with my fake fire and the heater on.
Good morning. Sitting at my little dining room table, wrapped in a red blanket, just trying to keep warm. I wanted to talk more a little about the idea of tea house. It just keeps coming to mind that Dee Dee's tea house. I just would love to call it this. Do you know why? I think there is an ongoing dream that I have that would be kind of, you know, like you think what would be your ideal thing to create if money was no object. And this is the dream, the idea that keeps returning to me. And it is a big studio space with studio at the back where I can make a mess, but also a large space where people can gather and come and do art classes. And there's a cafe very close, either within the complex or right next door, and a florist. So there's this kind of community feeling that I crave and desire, but it's actually, that is such a lot of work and effort to create that, what I'm talking about, in actual physical reality. And so I just keep having this idea that, well, what is it about that? Why? And one of the things for me, being an artist, very kind of a bit hermit-like, and I think that is true for most artists. When you're practicing art, you do spend quite a lot of time alone, and these days a lot more of us are living alone. I'm not personally living alone, but I mean a lot of people are living alone. So there's this sort of epidemic of loneliness is going on in the world, and so it's not the same, the digital connection. But I do notice that the videos that I watch where I feel a real connection with the person speaking to me, I do come away from those interactions feeling topped up. You know, like it fills my cup to partake of content online that is uplifting or informative or interesting, like the astrology things I look at, and some oracle and tarot readings. There's one in particular I love, Michele Meiche. And so what I'm looking at providing is an intimate behind the scenes connection with me in my art practice. So you're already connecting with me via my YouTube and what I make here. But I sort of have the idea that wouldn't it be lovely if I had a community in my Patreon where I could go deeper if I wanted to, deeper and wider, and respond to questions that you have personally in my group. I could respond to them in video form or in audio, maybe even have like a Tea with Denise podcast each month. That would be kind of lovely. I kind of would like to create something special that isn't on my YouTube, but in a way it's like an extension of what I've been enjoying making for YouTube. So at this moment, and I suppose I shouldn't even project too far into the future because I think it's still really formulating. The idea, and maybe even a tea ceremony once a month, that would be beautiful. And why tea ceremony? Well, some years ago, my family and I, so we have 2 daughters, we went to Japan for a holiday, and one of the most important things for me to do there was to go to a tea ceremony. So my daughter Kayla and I went to a traditional tea ceremony, and performed by a master tea maker she's been doing it for decades. So I think she was in her 60s or 70s, and she had been doing this. That was her life work. And we had a translator with us. And the whole process and steps that she took us through and that ceremony left such a special kind of imprint on me. And I resonated with it so deeply. Right from when you arrive, you put your shoes outside and everything's placed very neatly. So you leave your shoes outside and you have to enter into this little traditional tea house through a small door. So the doorway is only about half or less the height of a normal doorway. So you have to bend over and crawl into the space. And so she told us the story that right back in the times of the samurai warriors and wartime, the samurai would come to have tea, but they also had to leave their shoes outside and humble themselves and come through the door. So the idea of the tea house is that everyone is equal in there. And so you would leave outside your titles or your notoriety or whatever. And when you come into the tea house, everybody's equal. And you are asked there's a vase on the wall, and there's a scroll with Chinese characters. I can't remember what they meant. I might have to look that up. So there's Chinese characters honoring where the tea came from, first growing in China. And then there were flowers, which I've got a flower here, right here. And that is to signify beauty and nature. And so you acknowledge that beauty and that nature and you notice it. So that's what you are asked to do first, to be present to that. And then you're sitting on your knees and facing the tea master. And from them she goes into quite a ritual to make the tea. And really what it's all getting at is becoming present, coming right now into that moment and being present. And it's sort of deeply connective and deeply relaxing when we do that. So I bring that kind of tea ceremony, the essence of that, into my daily life. Every day, pretty much at 10 o'clock, I have my tea time. And that is, it's like a simple act that we do, but it really can bring quite a lot of nurturing and sort of specialness to our life. And then I think of the tea house, that I've got a favorite one I love to go, and it's like a little place where you go to fill up your cup, literally. And so that, I think, might be the theme of my Patreon, is a place where you come to fill your cup. And what you fill your cup with I think that's going to depend on how the energy flows from month to month. I definitely love working with my intuition and making things that I feel really inspired to make. That's the same with my art practice. And so with my Patreon, it will just be another extension of that. You're really just going to be coming behind the scenes into my studio and into my tea table, and for me to be able to share pieces of that along the way. So yeah, I wonder if that's something that sounds of interest to you, and if you have more questions, ask me down in the comments or send me a message. I'd love to hear from you. Excuse me. Oh, hello. Laura, hello. Do you want to come and say hello? Do you want to come and say hello? Hi. Hi, sweetie pie. I was in the middle of making a video. I was. Do you want to say hello to the people? You're just quiet. This happened yesterday as well. I was in the middle of making a video. Philip was home. And so I actually don't like recording any video when he's home or when anyone's in the house. I need to feel completely free to be this weirdo talking to myself. And just as I was in the middle of recording this, talking about the tea for probably the third or fourth time, I could hear the door slide open and these little footsteps. And it threw me right off, and it was Philip letting Aura into the room where I was. And so, but how can you deny this little one? And I love how those of you who've been watching some of my videos are sending me messages how much you love Aura. So it sort of stands to reason that she'll be part of it too. Hey. Hi, sweetie pie. How are you? Sitting out in the sun, getting warm. We don't like winter much, do we? Well, we like wearing our jackets. We do, we like wearing our jackets. Right. Well, we better get on with doing some more now. You'll see if this video has worked. Talking about my Patreon and the tea house, etc.
And can I also just say, I hate this business, this regrowth thing. I think it's only 4 weeks since I had my hair dyed. So this morning with my breakfast, I was watching videos on how to transition to the grey. So I'm going to have to talk to my hairdresser and see what he says. He's a lovely guy that I found here in Sydney. But God, it's such a nuisance, this whole regrowth thing. I'm over it. So anyway, side issue, but I think a lot of us come up against this in our 50s, if not before. And what do? Some people go grey gracefully, and some of us probably have a bit more of a, I don't know, not a battle, but it's another thing to really let go of, isn't it? Another thing.